What's up guys, it's Tony here, welcome back to Man Cave Studios. Today is another story time video, as you can tell from the title, and I'm going to be talking about why I study sports media. So let me take you back a little bit, and I guess we'll start with middle school. From 5th to 7th grade, I was really into doing stage crew, because it was kind of just the same repeated tasks over and over again, and I really enjoyed that for whatever reason. But also, when I was in 6th grade, I was helping out with the lighting, and I was really interested in all that tech stuff for that play. Then when I was in 8th grade, after I moved schools, I started writing these stories for the newspaper based on just, what was happening in sports in the world. But I didn't really do anything with the TV station because I was a new student and I really didn't know how to get involved in something like that. So mainly I was just involved with the newspaper. When I got to high school, I really didn't do much initially. I just kind of, wanted to get on with it, do my classes, and that's pretty much it. Just head home at the end of the day. In fact, in study hall most of the time, I wasn't even really studying. I was messing around with my friend or, going to the library and playing video games with him, something like that. I did join the TV Tech Club, but I really didn't have that much of an interest in it at the time. My two friends were in it. That was really the only reason I went, and then by the end of the year I pretty much stopped going entirely. And in fact, when I was a sophomore, I did even less. I didn't even show up for any of the meetings at all, I don't think, at any point throughout the year. So I really was just, kind of just trying to get through school, and it made it pretty miserable because I really didn't like being there at the time. But at the same time, I was still taking the TV Tech classes, and then at the end of my sophomore year, I finished my final project early, I think, and I wound up using the extra time to make a segment for the school TV show. It was really basic. It was just the Pittsburgh Penguins Stanley Cup run that year. But I liked seeing my work on TV, so I decided when I was a junior I'd go back and do a little bit more. And in fact, the summer before my junior year, I kind of realized that things weren't really going that well. I wasn't really enjoying school. And so something at least needed to change. Like I said in the last Storytime video, my grades were terrible. I got 2 C's in 2 different classes that year. And so I decided the best place to start was with the only real extracurricular I was somewhat involved in, which was the TV Tech Club. So in my junior year, like I said, I produced some more segments. I also worked my way up through the TV studio. I started going in to help film the show, and I initially started out as a camera operator, worked my way up into the little control room where I was a teleprompter operator first, and then did audio, and then graphics, and ultimately technical director. And then there was one time that I wound up directing too. The thing was, I would have directed more, but the seniors kind of hogged it. They signed up to direct like as soon as the list went out. And so when I was a senior, I wound up making some changes to that. But when I was a senior, I became a club leader because I had a lot of involvement when I was a junior. And so I wound up becoming one of the team leaders. Initially, my role wasn't supposed to be technical, but it wound up becoming technical after a lot of the people that held positions that were higher than me kind of backed out of it, weren't really doing as much. So somehow I wound up pretty much running that program for at least a span of a couple of weeks here and there. The thing was, there were other people that were involved in leadership roles, so I wasn't really alone like other experiences that I've had since then. But at the same time, at some points, I wound up running pretty much the entire show. And I think the best example of that was when I produced 4 segments for, and then directed an entire show. And just so you know, our shows were really only 4 or 5 segments, and that particular show was only 4. So I wound up branding that as the Anthony Corby Show, because I basically produced everything for that. At the same time, when I was a senior, I started doing more with the district television station. I was in their Option 2 program, which was basically like an internship. I went in during a class time, and I wound up actually being 2 class periods at the end of the year, and I just worked on different media projects, and the main thing that I was really interested in was editing stuff for sports and sports broadcasting, and so I wound up doing a lot of the games for the district television station for their official whatever cable network station that they have. In fact, the only state championship game that we got to record was a women's basketball state championship, and I wound up directing that broadcast. And it was through that district program that I kind of realized this is what I would love to do as a career more than anything else. Like, I liked working at the TV station at my school, but I liked doing the sports broadcast for the district television station more than anything else that I'd enjoyed in high school. And so I applied to 4 colleges that had decent sports broadcasting programs, and I wound up going to Rider University because that was the one place that I knew I could start getting involved right away as a freshman. So when I got to Rider, I started off as a camera operator for the ESPN streaming group, and then I did a few other things with the TV station. And in fact, within a semester, I wound up working my way all the way up in both, where I was a technical director for a game for the ESPN streaming group, and then I also got to produce my own show with the TV station. I worked my way up through both, so that with the TV station I was producing shows every other week, and it was kind of this constant thing that we were doing. Everyone else was really doing bi-weekly shows, and we were kind of part of the group, and 2 of us were freshmen and 1 of us was a sophomore. So it was pretty cool, you know. Most other schools, they wouldn't even let you get involved unless you were an upperclassman, and here we were as underclassmen being able to actually do things. And this all culminated in my boss recommending me for the MAC tournament that year, but unfortunately, my boss recommended 4 other kids, and they only needed 3 for that year. So 2 of us had to be cut, and unfortunately I was one of the 2 that got cut. However, I was told that I would be recording either volleyball or golf in Orlando instead, either that April or the next November, which I was very happy about. And so things were in a great place. I was getting ready to go to Orlando. I was going to study abroad another semester after that. And then COVID happened. But at least by this point, I was sure that my concentration was really in sports broadcasting. The fact that I was the only freshman that was recommended for this and that had to submit materials for this showed, to me at least, that I was at least, you know, not terrible at this. And so it was a while, but NCAA sports came back in December with basketball season that year. And so I got right back into it. I wound up being TD a few more times, although mostly for some reason I was put on camera most of the time, probably because I was one of only a few guys that could hold the shoulder camera. But again, I was suggested for the MAC tournament, and this year I got to go, and it was pretty funny because I went and I was the main replay operator when the last time I had done replay was in high school with a completely different system. And our school system is different than the one that we had to use for the tournament anyway, but I really hadn't done replay before, and somehow it wound up working out pretty well for me. And so even though I was only a sophomore, I was really already a student leader with the program. And ultimately, the other person who was a student leader wound up leaving for a semester in LA. So that's when I became kind of the sole student leader of the program. Over winter break, I was doing pretty much all of the basketball games because I was kind of the sole student leader now. And some of the wrestling matches too, except when I went on vacation to Las Vegas. But for some reason, I really wasn't content with that. Like, I really wanted to be the student leader of that program for a while. And then when I eventually got it, I wound up just thinking, you know, there's so much more that I could still be learning about this that I don't feel like I'm learning here really anymore because I've already worked my way up to the top. And so for whatever reason, I decided to apply for a couple of internships for the spring, and I knew that would be really tough on my schedule, but then I got interviewed for one of those internships, which was the one that I wanted more. And I wound up getting that internship for the spring, and that was with the Philadelphia Union of Major League Soccer. And through that internship, I learned more than pretty much I had learned anywhere else. And so what I did with that internship was, it was great to just be there, obviously, but I also applied a lot of the things that I had learned to my job at the ESPN streaming group. So when I became a producer at the end of this semester, which was just kind of interim, but I wound up making these rundowns based on the rundowns that they used for the union. And I wound up just, taking some things that I learned from watching the broadcast in the production truck and applying them to my current job, which was probably the most fun part of having that internship, was that I actually got to apply things I was learning to a job I already had. And so this all culminated in really my first big opportunity. I got to record an NCAA lacrosse game for ESPNU, and that was pretty much my first real freelance gig aside from the MAC tournament. Unfortunately, I got food poisoning, so I couldn't help out as much as I really wanted to. But it was still a great opportunity for me. I got to work camera for that game, and I got to kind of see how things work in the freelance field. I got to meet a guy who worked for professional sports and still works for professional sports teams as a camera operator. And so the big question, why do I work in sports media? Because I guess I'm not absolutely terrible at it. I mean, if I can produce games for ESPN3 and I can record lacrosse games for ESPNU, then I guess I must be doing something right. Anyways, that is going to be it for this video. I know it was probably another long one, but thank you guys for watching anyway. I hope you enjoyed it, and there should be another upload in a couple of days, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, and peace out, broskies.